Salute to Hollywood and watch. Salute to Jason Lee. They posted. Travel influencer Garrett Gee responds to backlash after throwing his 7-year-old son off a cliff. Pardon me. And honestly, you can just kind of get to the video to see for yourselves what happened. So, not again, because this is my separate video, but apologies for the choppiness and quality of the piss poor quality of the video. The video and the link will be in the description below, so if you want to check it out for yourself, and then come back to our video. But anyway, for the audio only listeners, so yeah, you just see, one, this is a person that they definitely are. That description is sounds appropriate because you seem like you have to be a traveler to be in a question like this. So they're on the cliffs. I don't know where in the world they are, but they're on like a rocky cliff, and I can't tell the distance between the cliffs and the water. Maybe you guys are better at eyeballing that, but sounds like they're having a little quick powwow with their kid, saying, "Okay, jump off." And obviously, being a young kid, they would have some reluctance just jumping into water. Like literally, look like they're jumping into the ocean. So the dad just picks him up and hurls him off the cliff. And obviously, it's not a super mega cliff. Like there's higher peaks to this to even where they are, but it's a good, decent sized chunk. Definitely, maybe 10 to 15 feet at minimum. So yeah, and whenever you see parents handling their children in potentially harmful or concerning, quote unquote, concerning ways, it's obviously going to raise a question. And I'm pretty sure we bumped into a topic like this or two, but never a bad time to rehash what you guys' thoughts, comments, questions are regarding something like this. Yeah, I mean, simply, when you see stuff like this, does it make you think of, are there any parenting strats that you yourself are not okay with? Because I think we see this like time to time, and honestly, there is a whole like loaded element of like, this teaches your kids to not, you don't, there is, don't be anxious of anything. Like sometimes there is, sometimes it help build confidence because, that kid can obviously swim. So, teaching that kid to, quite literally like take that risk and just jump into that pool and be confident in your own abilities. But the method by which they do it is just like how birds literally throw their offspring out the nest. So yeah, when you see this, are there any parenting traits that come to y'all minds that y'all actually, even though we're not here to tell anybody how to be a parent, especially us of all people, that you yourself would probably stray away from? I'll get mine's out the way quickly, and it's obvious. I don't really, even though we've all been, had our parents' voice raised at us, and especially it's interesting because I also come from like a sports background where dealing with coaches, they're 1,000% gonna yell at you. Like they're gonna yell at you even if you're doing good. Like we would literally win some of our meets against other schools and we'd get yelled at. It's crazy, but in general, I don't necessarily think I can imagine a household where parents actually don't yell. I don't necessarily think that's really necessary. And also, one that's a bit more controversial. I also don't necessarily think certain language needs to be used as it pertains to kids, like bad words. I know bad words, subjective based off culture and society, but I don't necessarily like using that around and or at kids. But that's just my take. So what about y'all? Are there any parenting strategies where you wouldn't necessarily, go up to a parent and be like, "Hey, you shouldn't do that," but you also don't think is the best strats to enforce or use when it comes to kids. And I guess this situation, do you think this is a bit much? I'll start with you, Les. What do you think?
think I agree with you on yours. Plus, I would add like any kind of denigrating things, like telling a kid that they're stupid or anything like this to try to motivate them. Some parents will use that. I mean, stupid is a kind of extreme, maybe example, but anything like this where you're saying that they're not good enough to try to reverse psychology them into doing stuff.
Even
Um, uh,
even for
and
young boys, don't you think some young
yeah, no,
boys
no, no,
need
no,
even for don't you think some young boys need that? What are you, a weakling? Get up!
no. I think you say you're stronger than that. Do it like you assert the positive. I don't think you
I
necessarily need
guess yeah.
to call them out on the
Keep
like
the
the
positive.
yeah. I don't think you need to denigrate them. I don't think there's ever really a place for that. I don't, and I've never experienced that in my childhood from my parents. Um, so I think that's a good rule too. As far as this type of stuff, like motivating the kid to jump off a cliff or whatever, I feel like I feel like it's not bad, but for me, I'm like a strict on safety. So like it does kind of freak me out to see something like this because it's so dangerous. But at the same time, I feel like somebody like this, as you said, I mean, he knew the kid could swim, and he might have done this on a smaller scale already, in a pool or whatever, just over the edge or whatever. So there might have been context where it's just like, no, he just couldn't do this type of height yet, and he was reluctant, but his father knew his capability. And so I think at that point, the idea of doing something like this and pushing your kids, I think this is specifically like a strong point of a good father,
Mm,
um, to to make you go a little bit beyond what you think you can do, but what the father is aware of your ability in. I think that's a great thing. So I'm not against it, but as I said, being a safety person, it makes me a little bit uneasy to see. But yeah.
got you. Makes sense. How about for you, Ace? Are there any parenting strats that you don't think are super beneficial for to use on kids? And in general, what do you think of a circumstance like this with this brother that's throwing kids into little oceans?
Um, I had one and I lost it. I obviously agree with yours. I'm blanking on what mine was. I mean, one thing I will say is that uh, if I do ever become a parent, or that's in the cards for I know it's gonna happen in the near future or whatever. I think I would want to take like some type of parenting classes or something
Hmm.
just to really shore up on um just like different things like uh when and how to introduce certain things to a kid, like I don't know, like learning a second language or even teaching them how to swim and stuff like that,
Don't you
really
just ask
having
your
the
parents for all
best.
that?
Not necessarily. I mean, I would get their opinion, but yeah, I would also want to get that in like a formal learning setting too.
Mm-hmm.
um Yeah, I can't think of what mine was. I had one. Regarding this video, though, I um off the title, I was like, this sounds kind of insane, but no, this looks fine to me. I mean, given everything that Wes said, like, uh, we can kind of tell the father um knew the capability of the kid. Obviously knew the kid could swim. Probably did something like this before, so just not in this setting. And I can relate to that, being a kid, being afraid of certain things, and the fear just coming from the setting and not necessarily the thing itself.
Yep.
Um, so there's a good handful of fears that I got over in a very similar way from both my mom and my dad doing stuff like this. Um, so yeah, I'm on board with it. I will say I don't necessarily like the social media aspect, and this guy's an influencer. All of that stuff aside, I'm good with the with this video and this general parenting technique.
Yeah, I'm rolling. They definitely, if your mindset is to just particularly like do this for your kids and your family, that's one thing. But once you put it on social media, it turns into a larger conversation, which that's how we get here. But
Right. Yeah.
still, kind of, I can understand the annoyance of that. You know what this kind of reminds me of, and hearing you talk, like for all the skaters out there, when you're teaching your kid to go down like like a half pipe or something like that, like I feel as if there's probably some dads that kind of gave their kids a little nudge. Oh
Yep.
jeez.
Yep.
And then what about you, Ghost? Are there any parenting strategies that come to your mind that you don't think are the most productive or beneficial for kids? In general, what do you think of a strat or a video or example like this, rather? Sorry.
Pretty much on board with what you guys already said. I think it heavily depends on the parents knowing the kids' capabilities and their limits. Like just introducing something like this to them out of nowhere definitely would not be on board with. But given the context, like if the kid has been introduced to this before and it's just a matter of in this specific instance, the setting that's what's making them afraid, then I do think that a little push is healthy and necessary in a lot of cases because, again, kids are just kind of naturally fearful when it comes to certain things. And sometimes you just need to get pushed. Not even just kids, just people in general can be fearful of things they're not familiar with. So just getting that push can be good in the long run. Again, just heavily dependent on the parents taking the necessary steps and knowing their kids because there's some parents that'll just say tough up and do this and that and the kid's not ready and then it ends up uh spiraling to something not good, which that's number one thing you want to avoid. But as long as the correct steps are being taken, I'm for this. As far as parenting techniques just in general, um I don't know. I think you had a good one, Quest. The one that I might have, which might already kind of be common knowledge or stating the obvious, but never disciplining your children out of anger and also
Yep.
always having an intent behind it and explaining that intent to them. That doesn't mean you don't discipline them. Like you don't put them on punishment or when necessarily like spank them. I'm not opposed to that, but there should always be reasonings behind it. And there's gonna be plenty of times as a parent when you're very pissed at your children, but if you take that out on them and incorporate that into their discipline, that's 100% super bad thing. That'd probably be my biggest thing to avoid. But otherwise, um, yeah, I think we already touched on the major things. So.
Yeah, that might be one of the most important to mention, and it's unfortunate because it is kind of like hard to always be mindful of because like telling somebody to control themselves in the heat of rage is always gonna be like well. But yeah, when you do things just because you're like pissed off, that's how you get to the situations where you don't, you just start punching, you start punching people, and I'm laughing, but yeah, you got to be super mindful of your feelings and your emotion in that moment. So that makes it 1,000% sense. Anyway, the moral of the story is I don't know about y'all, but I'm always kind of like Harry Carey as it pertains to like even having like even personally having like very critical thoughts on how other people parent, like especially as it pertains to like when a parent wants the best for their child, like in a certain field, like especially sports parents, those ninjas don't play. Those we want to talk about. We're talking about. Don't yell and don't call your kid a weakling. You go look at your average parent that's trying to raise somebody to be or trying to be good at basketball or football. Dumb kids are getting hell. And obviously,
That was actually mine. That was mine.
oh,
I don't
what?
What
agree
was
with
it?
that. The sports, like in general, pushing kids to do something, not necessarily to do something like a sport or something that they don't like. Like I think that's fine to have them do it, but to be overly critical of them not winning or whatever, especially when you can see they're at least applying themselves or at the very least like doing the thing, like they're acquiring the skill. So I don't see getting mad because they lost really at all.
What if they could be the next MJ if you just gave them that little extra push?
I don't want my kid to be the next MJ anyway. So
Nah, that's
What
kind
if
of
the
cap.
kid wants to be the next
That's kind
MJ?
of cap now. Nah,
then I wouldn't need to push them.
you're
Say that, but
No, no,
that's
yeah,
no,
no.
that's
no.
I get what
What are you
Ghost is
guys doing?
saying.
no.
No,
Wait,
I
is
get
this
what Ghost is
Wesley or
saying.
what's
Right when
going
we're
No,
on?
no,
wrapping it
I'm
up
not. I'm
too.
not saying. I'm not saying. I'm not saying you should do it. You should push them or whatever excessively. But if a kid thinks, this is kind of was the conversation we had last time. If a kid thinks that they want to be the next big thing or whatever, they can say that. They can express that as many times as they want. But if they don't know the
Oh,
amount of work that they're gonna have to put in, you
Yep.
may need to be the one to be like, are you serious or are you not? Because if you are,
Oh,
then
with
I
the
got to
with the
tell you,
Shaq.
wake up, do this, whatever. And I could see it
mm.
being where they can express it as much as they want, but in reality, they're going to be falling short in certain things, and the parent would have to push them to get them to where they think that they want to be. So it's not as clear cut as they'll have the motivation if they want to do it.
Oh, okay. So you're replying to what I said.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um. Okay, I guess. I don't think that necessarily goes against what I'm saying though, in terms of uh being like overly negative about losses. Like I think there's still a way in which
Okay,
like
okay.
okay, let's say the kid does want to be the next MJ and they do lose because of reasons that you are clearly seeing they're
Some kid
losing
wants to be
for.
MJ. They
I think
want to
you
be
can
Anthony
point those
Edwards.
things out without it being about like you have to be the best or it just more from a realistic standpoint. Like you are not going to get where you want to be if you continue to make XYZ mistake. It's not about the loss. It's about the lack of technique, whatever particular issues that you see that would prevent them from achieving what they want to achieve.
I kind of
I
see
do,
where
I
he's
do
going.
think there's a bit of a difference there.
A little bit, maybe. Yeah.
Fair enough. I don't want to exacerbate the conversation. I don't know why you slick said I don't want my kid to be next MJ. I don't know about that one.
I don't.
I don't. The believing. I don't know. I don't know if it's there. But we can save that for another time. Um, if there's nothing else, we can move on to the next topic.